Good morning and welcome back to the Dreaded Midwives. Continuing on with our VBAC agenda, we have a lovely birth story we're going to share with you today. Well, I'm not. The lovely Sam is going to share with us today. And Terry, she was one of your clients who chose you on her journey. So let's get started. Sam, do you want me to tell you a little bit of background about her? Yeah? Oh, no, you can do it, Sam.
Me? Okay.
Yep, go for it.
Well, I'm Sam, so I'm very excited to be here with these lovely ladies. It's been an awesome journey over the last year.
Almost a year.
Yeah. Gosh, where do I even start? I'm a mother of three. So this is number three, my latest, which we'll be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess it's my journey from going from two caesareans to home birth, and how that all eventuated and why.
Yeah.
And I'm Terry, and we've got the beautiful young woman who and I won't say her name because I think we'll just leave that one alone. You know who I am. I'm one of the dedicated home birth midwives and have been for the last 40 years, having my own home birth, about 30 plus years ago, and caring for women of VBAC status over those 40 years in a home birth and also in a hospital environment.
Yeah, beautiful. So I suppose, Sam, the biggest question on your quest for your journey, do you want to give us just a little bit of a brief overview of how your journey started with your first two bubs?
Yeah, sure. I guess, going right back to my first one, I was very much in the mindset that the medical system was the be all and end all, like that they did everything, that you don't question them. And so, I did all the things that a normal mum would do, and you'd go, you go to the hospital and or you go to the GP first, and then they refer you to the hospital, and you go through all those processes. And with my first one, there was a few health complications that they found. I had some major cysts, and they decided to tell me that I wasn't allowed to see anyone else other than the doctors at the hospital. Wasn't allowed to see midwives or any of those things. And being my first pregnancy and not knowing a thing, and of that mindset, you just don't question them because they know more than you. I just went along with it. And so, many things happened on that journey. I ended up having to go in for surgery to remove one of the cysts and my ovary when I was about 10, 12 weeks pregnant, and a few other things that happened. And then towards the end, she was breech. So then the hospital was like, no, we don't do breech births here. You'll go for a caesarean. So then all of that happened, and that was my first one. Second one, I was still caught up in that whole, medical system is the be all and end all. But because the trauma of that first pregnancy and feeling so stripped of my own rights and decisions, and there was so much that happened in that first pregnancy that really, it was traumatic. But I was still stuck in that medical system is the god, I guess. But I decided to go with private hospital this time, so I went and asked around and found a private doctor that many women liked and recommended. I went and saw him for the second one, and one of the things that he said to me was, because I asked him, what does birth look like to you? Like, how is this going to work? Just asking, normal questions. I guess out of the trauma of my past, I was kind of handing him like, what do you want to do? Rather than him asking me, well, what do you want to do? Yeah. And very clearly, I remember him saying, that caesarean is much easier, especially after a previous caesarean. It's easier for him, you know, on his schedule and things like that. So I was just like, okay, all right, then we'll go with a caesarean right from the get-go. So again, I was not just having it removed from me, I was handing it over. Yeah, so, and that was my second one. And I guess even choosing that option, even choosing going to a private hospital, there was still that element where decisions were taken, or I felt decisions were taken from me, and it wasn't presented to me that there were other options. I had no idea about midwives and that I could even choose my own birth. So after that time, I decided, after getting my health, because with all the trauma that had kind of built up, by the time my second was born, I was quite depressed and had a very low self-esteem, because I'd just given all of my, you know, decisions, my rights away to someone else. I didn't even really know who I was anymore. And so I decided, I looked at my two little girls that I had, and I was like, this is not right. This is not okay. How is this? This is not how it used to be. And so I threw myself into healing myself first. So through things like stress management and eating right and building myself back up. And then suddenly things got so much clearer, and I realized, you know what? We do actually have power as women. We do. Like this is there's so much more that we're missing out on. And I think, and this might be a little bit controversial, and you guys tell me what you think, but I've thought a lot about it since birthing her, that with the whole I guess with the feminist movement, we've given up a lot of our femininity. Like we've really leaned into masculine, and we've forgotten the power of the feminine. And I think that's where I really came back to. And yeah, that filled me with, I guess, a fire, that when I found out I was pregnant with my third one, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to go near the medical system. I don't need the medical system. We don't need the medical system. Like, our bodies know exactly what to do. And we have so many women who have gone through this before, and who have so much knowledge. And even though I guess my body has been quite scarred by the medical system, I knew it could heal, and I knew that I still had the strength and that intuition to make this happen, or not even make this happen, allow it to happen, because it's I mean, pregnancy and birth is not exactly something you can really control. It's very much of a releasing. Yeah, so yeah, I decided when she was conceived that I was going to take it back into my own hands. And I went around and sourced women, went and found some women who I knew the way, and they, I guess, helped me. You helped me work that out. So that's a bit of background.
Yeah, okay. And so when you say you sourced women, what describe some of the women that you called in for this journey?
So I looked around my own circles and worked out the women who I knew were really standing, I guess, in their feminine power, who I knew worked in this area of womanhood. So I found one of my good friends, Janine, who was a doula, and I went and saw her initially. And because I had a lot of medical concerns as well, she thought there might be some more women that I could draw in. And she knew of you guys, who I think were fairly recent in fairly new in the area.
Yeah, we've had a couple of birth worker support gatherings out at Deb's out in Howard, and that's how we met Janine along the way. Yeah.
So I reached out to you guys, and so I felt I needed, because of my history, because I was so, I guess there was still that trauma of the medical system, and so I needed people who'd gone through that, who like knew the medical system and had experience with all of these different variables, and so I had Janine, who, you know, beautiful lady who has birthed home births before, and I knew I needed more. So yeah, that's when I got you guys, and then I also had Chelsea as well. So I had 4 beautiful, empowering women at my birth, and it was honestly the most life-changing experience I've ever had.
It's interesting because Janine is a local body worker. She does a lot of work with sound, with body energy, massage, remedial, as well as spiritual. She speaks a lot of allowing. And then Chelsea, who is also believes in physiological birth and the power of the feminine, through her own farm and her organic products and the way she's raising her children and so on. So they're right in our area. So within a community right here, there were people that you could tap into. So I guess that's a really strong point too, finding someone within your area. It's all right on Facebook, it's all right, you know, but I think having that hands-on, face to face in your area probably made a bit of a difference.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. Especially with the difficult situation that I was going through at the time, you know, like losing my home and having the entire journey that I envisioned completely turned upside down. So having all you guys there is, I guess, a kind of stronghold, I guess, for when I felt I wasn't strong enough. You reminded me.
Yeah. And I think in you watching you and your strength, I was reminded too of my strength. It actually reminds me of the there's a circle of women. It's a ceramic or a sort of a cement, and in the middle there's a candle. A lot of us have had it on our yeah, Baba. I have had it on our tables, maybe outdoor tables, whatever, or at our sessions. And there's been a lot of women's circles, Red 10 included, that have actually used that. And this is the thing that sort of I'm reminded of as you speak, is that here's a whole bunch of women in a circle holding hands, you know, and you know, not only I think was there us 4, Janine and Chelsea and Deb and I, there was also other people that were fairly instrumental too, I think, that might not have been birth workers, but actually friends or within your collegial sort of your work environment, that sort of thing, that probably made a difference as well. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I guess one of the things that we've really let go of in modern society is that sense of community, and growing and raising children, and I mean even just community in general is such a powerful tool. We are who we surround ourselves with. And so I guess leading up to, I mean, even before her, like on my healing journey, creating that community around me was very significant as well in everything that played out. It's I think something that a lot of people forget is that community and who you've got around you, who you've got supporting you.
So I was just thinking in sort of interweaving sort of my sort of feeling with coming into the whole picture. I sort of received from Janine, probably before you contacted me, but maybe around the same time, that there was this woman who was looking and exploring home birth after 2 cesarean sections. And she was asking how, what would I be, open to being contacted. And I think as a midwife, and you can expand on that too, Deb, I never say no. If a woman wants to talk to me, whether she's contacted me on Facebook, on my page, by email, whatever, I'll always, hey, let's have a phone call, let's have a chat. Because I think that without, because I think women are reaching out for a reason. And
Yeah.
I think that this reaching out is really important, that we don't say no.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question for you, Terry, along those lines of, what was it about Sam that, and her story, that, given her, high risk label that society has given her, what was it about her that made you go, no, actually,
Mm, mm.
this will be an amazing journey?
Yeah, I think that, okay, initial contact, of course, is
Yeah.
for me really important, because
Yeah.
I don't have a vested interest.
No.
What do you do, baby girl? So there she is. It's great when they find the booby.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why I will open up myself to
Yeah.
anyone who wants to have a chat. I don't have any, I'm not committed one way or the other.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
am committed to is the conversation.
Yes.
And I think the conversation and exploring exactly what the question was with Sam right now was, why did you decide that? Tell me a little bit about you. So basically what Sam has just expressed with us is what I'd like to hear on the other end of the telephone. And so when Sam and I got together, we had a bit of a chat on the phone, and I wasn't ready or willing or able to make a commitment one way or the other. I wasn't, nope, you had blah, blah, blah. So, you have to find somebody else. And I know that a lot of women have had that situation. It makes me so sad to see on Facebook when people say, I've had 2 cesarean sections, I've had a vaginal birth, and no one will look at me in their area. So it makes me very sad. And it makes Lily sad too, I think. And so when Sam, when we contacted each other, the first thing I did was, hey, let me come over. And I mean, I always feel, because I go by feeling, that between myself and a woman, it's important to meet face to face in a lot of ways. And I also encouraged the daddy to be here. So I invited, or I didn't invite him. I said, hey, is he going to be around? We made it. We arranged it to have the daddy here. And so that, because it's not a journey that a woman takes alone.
No.
We've already talked about that a bit. It is a journey that she's taking with her community. And the most intimate person within that community is the daddy of the child. I need to know his level of commitment. And it's not him saying, oh yeah, I'm into home birth. Sounds great. It's a deep felt thing that I get when I sit down and talk to a couple. And I think that first meeting that we had, Sam, was quite significant for me. And I think it was quite significant for you and the father of this baby. I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name or not, so I haven't.
Oh, yeah, Dane. Yeah,
Okay, Dane. Good. Seems funny to just call him the father of.
I love it. Sounds good too.
And so it was really, really good that we all connected, that there was this real energy of commitment to a home birth, a physiological birth, and on both Sam and Dane's part. And I just felt that after that initial visit, and I think Janine was there as well, wasn't she? So I think Janine, my feeling is that Janine was brought in as maybe the known care provider, and maybe a bit of a safety net for you, or just, and to get all your ducks in a row sort of thing. So this is sort of where we went with it. And it was a 2-hour session, wasn't it? Because I don't think in a 15-minute consult, you can gain the information, or I can't. Maybe other people can. I mean, I get an initial sort of bling, feeling. But in order to really allow everyone in the room to relax, let down their barriers, get rid of their sort of shell. And I often feel with women that have had previous cesarean section, if they sit with a midwife or a medwife or a person who's associated with the medical profession, it takes them a while sometimes to open up
Yeah.
because they're so traumatized a lot of the times. But I think the trust that Sam had in Janine and her trust and Janine's trust in us, you and myself, helped to open that up. But I think it needed time. And I think that's what I would say to all midwives that are contemplating taking on someone who's had maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 cesarean sections and then wanting home birth, is to allow them the opportunity to open up and bare their soul. Because birth is about bearing the soul, especially in a home environment.
Yeah.
You have to go someplace. Yeah. You have to go someplace and
There's
get to
no
know
hiding.
somebody.
No hiding.
There's no hiding. And go sometimes to a place that no one's ever been before, like yourself or your partner, Dave, or anyone else in the room. It's a bit about wow. And so having that sort of hint of what's going on early in the care. And I think after that first meeting, it was, and Sam was amazing. Okay, she had all her records from her previous births. She had them tagged.
Yeah.
And honestly, this woman was so prepared to move forward with a home birth. She had all the information. She wasn't hiding from herself at all.
Yeah.
And I think that was really important. She wasn't hiding from me. She wasn't hiding from Janine or Dane. And so there she had all the papers from her births right there in front of us. That much, lots. Okay, there you can see it. Huge amounts. And I think that to me was another indicator that this woman means business.
Yeah.
And she is preparing to do whatever it takes in order to have a successful, positive outcome birth in her own environment. So I think preparation of the mom is really important. Convincing, not by sitting there verbally saying, yeah, I'm so into it. It's actually walking the talk. Like she'd done all the work. She had, oh my God, what have you done? So she confronted her medical birthings. She confronted her involvement in that, her responsibility for the last 2 births. She confronted her the leftover wounds and scars and so on by embracing and taking responsibility for healing. Those things are really important. Her story was clear and concise. She wasn't sort of hedging around anything. And I think those things over the 2 hours were the things that left me thinking, right, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole with this woman. I get teary thinking about it because that was a moment of realization that we were going to go someplace really friggin' amazing. Wherever we were going to go.
Wonderful. I just want a question for Sam. In all of that, Sam, with your medical notes and your previous births, had you talked with anyone else about them previously, or was Terry the first medical, so to speak, person you spoke with?
Terry was the first one, yeah.
And how was that for you to have it broken down, and how was that experience going through those birth notes? And
I think there was an element where it was a relief. It was a relief to talk through it and have someone hear it. It was also, I guess, like reliving it all was also, it was confronting as well. But I think by the end of it, it was like this huge sense of relief. I got that all out.
It's
all there. It's all on the table. This is me. This is my story.
Great. And gave you in moving forward, what was like? Did it give you a sense of like you've talked about? Yes, it was a relief, but moving forward in your pregnancy and your birth, was there a sense of, no, now I can move forward. Now I've got this. Now that's done. I've packed it all up, unpacked it, repacked it, put it aside, and now I can move forward fresh. And
definitely. And hearing also, experiences I mean, from Janine as well, but from Terry. And then there was a meeting again with you when you came over as well, and we were all sitting around talking. All those sort of, I guess, those experiences, and it all of it was, I guess it was like we call these balls that like get bigger and bigger. It was like this sense of I've got this, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's sort of like that confidence in yourself that, in your journey.
Can I just comment a little bit on that? Because I think there were times, Sam, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I felt that there were moments of, and because of your situation, your circumstances, there are moments of slipping back into previous patterns of response. And because I've gotten to know Sam and her story so well, there were moments that, if you're all right with me sharing that, that Dane and Sam and I sat down and we addressed them. It was really interesting that we were able, and I love the fact that we have such an open relationship that when I saw these things happening, I would be able to say them. And Sam would, without putting up her guards, and would say, that's right. That's where I'm going. This is what
I remember a few times when you came and we sat down, you told me, what was going on, like for me, and I was like, oh, you're right. And then I remember very clearly one in particular moment where you said, just pull up your big girl undies. And I was like, right, that's what I need to do. I remember now.
Yeah, and I guess I felt okay to say that to you because I knew how important this home birth was to you, and how the subtlest is that a word, of little things can actually twist fate into another reality. And I think one of the things I really liked about your birth too is that by the time we came to the birth, Sam and I were so honest with each other that I felt there was nothing holding her back, nothing holding me back to commit myself and to go down the rabbit hole, because we had every step of the way been really honest. If I had a concern or I had a sort of suggestion or an observation, I could share it with Sam.
Yeah.
And either I'd get it, no, that's not it, or like you said, yes, that's it, I'm feeling that. And then we clear the air, move things on. Sam takes steps to do whatever needs is done. I take steps of regrouping, and I remember several times on several different meetings saying, yep, I'm following you down the rabbit hole. I'm following you down the rabbit hole. You know that.
Yeah.
And so not only confirming for myself and affirming for myself, but also affirming for Sam that whatever little hiccup that we had along the way, I was committing myself to following her, being with women wherever this journey needed to take her.
Yeah. I think the other thing that sometimes we may forget along the journey is that it is a journey, and it's during the entire pregnancy you're confronted by things that come up. And I think having you there to remind me, when I get up to a block, that hey, it's not actually a block, and to look at it in a different way. That was, because I mean, pregnancy does that.
It does. And I'm so grateful because it gives us women an opportunity not to go, oh, well, it's me, and walk away into a victim sort of thing, but go, all right, there's got to be a solution for this. We are going to find a way. And if I can't find a way, I'm going to go to my community and my partner and bounce it off them. And maybe somebody out there can come up with something that I can use to move forward.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to that community. So like you say, it is a journey. And if we're willing and we don't close ourselves off to the lesson that's being given, we will find a way through it, And that doesn't always mean, and I'll just bring this to light too, it doesn't always mean going and having that magical home birth. Okay, let's just bring that into perspective too, is that it means opening yourself up to whatever and allowing, like you said, Sam, that's such a beautiful word, allowing the process to unfold. Not putting on blinkers, not trying to hide from the reality of the situation. I think that's one of the things that Sam and I talked about. If there is any need here for a change of plan and a change of trajectory, I will say to you, Sam,
It's
I'm
time.
seeing this. I'm seeing this. I'm a little bit this, or I'm worried, or I'm da da da. And knowing that Sam and I have a trusting relationship, we also know that, whoa, okay, Terry means business here. How do I feel about it? Going deep, and because of all your hard work, knowing how to go in there, check it out in a real split second, what is going on here? Ooh. And then coming out with, right, let's move forward with this, or let's not move forward. And
And
I
I think that, go on.
Go.
I was going to say, I think that's an important part of preparation for any birth, is that whether it's your first birth, whether it's a VBAC, whether it's a fifth birth, it's that journey of preparation for whatever may unfold. Not having that fixed, I'm going to have a home birth, having that, having that fluidity. Is that the word? Yeah. That you can move. And if things don't go the way you planned, that you're still prepared and still open to the flow of what's going to happen. Yeah.
Which brings us to the point, thank you for mentioning open to the flow, because there was one point where the flow was there after the baby was born. And I looked at Sam and I looked at what was happening. And I said to you at that point, Deb, we need to get something happening here. We need to be active in our management. And Sam knew what was going on, but it was only after I initiated action, I said, "Oh, Sam, I'm sorry. I forgot to ask you." She says, "Oh, I knew about what you were doing, And I felt really bad because I hadn't actually, everything we talked about, I will say to you, blah, 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 and you will say to me, blah, 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 and then we'll move forward. It was sort of like, even though you knew. So what was your response to that? Because it's been on my heart.
Well, I was going to say, shall we hear a story first and then?
Yes.
So let's hear your story now, Sam, from the days leading up or from actual labor, whatever you feel works for you.
I think there was, gosh, there's so much. I mean, I could talk about it for ages. It is such a journey. The whole process takes you so deep within yourself. And I remember being very impatient, as women do when they're getting up to those late stages, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, hurry up!" And I was impatient, and I was impatient too soon, I think. And there was this one night, because I was essentially homeless, really, at the time, and so I spent the last couple of weeks at Janine's home. She was lovely enough to open it up for me.
God bless Janine.
So I had a safe place for the whole process. And I remember one night while I was there, I was getting ready for bed, and I passed Janine in the hall, and I was like, I realized today that I've been so impatient, and I felt this afternoon a reminder, and it felt like it came from her. Stop pressuring me.
Wow.
And I remember I can't even remember what I was thinking about. It was something completely different, and I suddenly that came into my head, and I felt it throughout my whole body. Stop pressuring me. And so I was like, wow. And so that night I just let it all go. I was like, you know what? She obviously will come when she wants to come. And so I just relaxed, and I put my feet up, and I stopped trying to make it happen. I just relaxed. And it was the early hours of that morning that I woke up, and my waters had broken. And from that moment, it was 4 hours and she had come out. But as soon as I realized that the waters had broken, I started going inward. And I remember, you know, through your conversations with you and with Janine and with everyone, that, you know, you go to this place when it all starts happening. And so I went there immediately, like, and you know, when you came in, you saw me there. I wasn't present necessarily in that time, and because I just knew I had to go inward, and I knew what I needed to do. I went straight out. I sat on the ball, and I just went inward, and I just felt everything. Everything from, you know, the emotional responses to the physical responses, and I just sat with myself, and I sat with her and what was happening, and it happened all so quickly. And then leading up towards the end there, through, you know, the ring of fire that gets spoke. There were moments when fear, there was one moment in particular where the fear just gripped me, and I think it happens with a lot of women. And it was really confronting, and I was like, I can't do this, and you just wanted to stop everything. And then I heard, I think it was Chelsea, who stuck her head up, because I was down on the floor and I had my face down, and like I was clinging on to Dane, and I just, her little breath, her quiet whisper of Sam, your breath, and it just reminded me of everything everyone had said to me during all the way leading up to that moment. I've got this, just breathe. And it was that next contraction, and she came out, and no one caught her because she came so quickly. Well, yeah.
She was so close that you were so close to the earth.
So yeah, I was down very low, and yeah, she just came and she just slid straight to the floor so quickly, and so it seemed like so effortlessly. But the change that happened in that moment was just, I mean, I've never heard myself, the voice that I had that in that moment, I've never heard come out of my mouth before in my life. It was just, it changed me as a mom, as a woman. Yeah. And everything leading up to that moment, everything that you had said, everything that Chelsea, Janine, all of the ladies who were so important in that journey leading up to that, just everything was just there.
So once she came out onto the earth, and she did pick her up. It's funny, you've got 4 beautiful birth workers and a partner and a mother. And this little Lily just chose her own little moment to enter, didn't she? Yeah. So once that happened, going on to what I'd sort of mentioned before, moving into that next phase, which is your placenta, I guess, and that too being a birth of something that's quite holy in its own right. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, backtracking a little bit to what we were talking about with the loss of blood that came with everything, your feeling of how all that happened. And I think I just, as soon as Lily came out, there was this rush of just trust with everyone around me, that everyone would know what to do, because I was still not grounded. Like I still wasn't back with myself, I suppose, in that particular moment. And so I knew that you and Deb and Janine and everyone would just do what needed to happen in that moment, that I was being watched and loved and cared for. And so I didn't have any fears or worries or concerns at all. It was just me and my baby, and I just followed at that point. And so then I got in the bed, and then, you know, the placenta came through, and I remember you talking through everything that was happening, and I think I was just completely at ease, completely just yeah, just happy and grateful, and it was just all those good feelings, I suppose, as you know, hormonally is what happens. And yeah, it was just.
So in that situation, you were being given a lot of love, and I know that you were sensitive and knowing of the love that was surrounding you. Just to change the scenario, let's say that you were in hospital and you had people that were full of fear and that sort of. I'm not saying that everybody in hospital is, don't get me wrong. I'm just wondering if that had been what was being offered to you, would you have been as sensitive to it as you were to the love that we were giving you? It might be a big question.
It is. I'm trying to. I think it just would have been fear, I think. And I would have been completely, I mean, speaking about my previous experiences,
yeah.
There was an element of, it was fear, it was being really self-conscious, that it was almost like I had to put on a front, or I had to act, I had to be someone that I wasn't.
And come out of yourself as a result of that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have been able to stay with just you and the baby. You would have had to, because
That's
you would have
right.
had to take on a false presentation. And so you'd have to come out of who you were.
And that's what happens as well. Like, I mean, with caesareans, I never experienced that love at first sight with my first two. And that was because I couldn't be present. I mean, there was all the drugs, and it was a cold atmosphere, you know, and as much as, you know, hospital staff can be, you know, as nice as, you know, the majority are, they're not personal. Like, they don't know your story. They don't know who you are. And so, yeah, it was kind of cold, and, you know, I had this screaming baby put in my face, and I felt guilty for so many years, hearing other women talk about this love at first sight, and I was like, I didn't want to tell people. I was like, it felt like a huge fault within myself, that I did something wrong. And I guess essentially taking on responsibility. Like, I mean, as women, it is our responsibility to make sure we're making those right decisions leading up to the birth of our baby. But your environment is so important. So important to you and your baby and the whole experience.
And there certainly was a lot of love in that room.
There was.
There was so much love. And what I really love about it, before we gave you the synthetic love hormone, was that your oxytocin was flowing beautifully. And I think I felt a little bit of fear at that point when I saw that there was a bit, and to be honest to everybody out there, it wasn't that much in retrospect, but it was enough to put me on the alert, given Sam's history. And I also have to learn from that obviously I wasn't completely without fear in that situation. Yes, I was going down the rabbit hole with Sam, but I also hung on to a little sprocket of fear. And I think that all of us midwives and all of us people that attend birth, like you said, Sam, you felt an element of fear in there too. And I think that's the uncertainty. And I think when I get in a car and go from Darwin to Adelaide, I get that same feeling as well. There is that element of, did I check the tires? Did I check my water? Did I make sure that there's enough petrol in the car? Did I get extra food for the daughter and the dog? You know, and did I tell someone that I was leaving so that they know to look for me if I don't arrive in Adelaide? So there's this element of covering all the bases, I think. And I think that that's not, and at times I give myself a bit of a kick about that. So that's why I was wondering how you felt about, you know, that I did this thing. And it was like, oh God, Terry, I did have some fear. And it's like, hold on a minute. That's my right. It's my right to have a little bit of fear, a little bit of cautionary uncertainty going on, and to respond appropriately instead of trying to hide from it. No, I'm not afraid, and then doing things as a result of it without really staying in myself, like you said, staying within self and coming from a place of truth for myself. So I did. And I remember once Deb saying to you in that whole moment, have you got it ready yet? Have you got it? Deb's, Terry, and your voice was so beautifully calm, wasn't it, Deb? It was beautiful.
Terry, I haven't even opened the needle packet yet.
And so
okay.
yeah, and I think that's what I needed to hear. And having other people in your space when you're having that feeling of fear, like Chelsea did for you. Are you breathing? Or Deb in a very beautiful, calm, soothing, I haven't opened the package yet. And the way you toned it, and you said it was almost like, oh, no. It's like,
Yes.
okay, let's get back in our body. Let's just, okay, there's a bit of fear here. Deb's aware. We'll just move forward as quickly and as smoothly as we can without making the fear big. And I had fear when I gave birth to a baby after 2.5 hour labor, and there were no previous anythings. I said to my midwife, who was a doula at the time, I said, I feel fear. And she says, well, yell it away. And I thought, that's what I need to do. Like the other way. So I think there's always that element. And it's actually what you said about the feminine is being in your power. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be any ghosts and goblins and scary monsters in front of you. It means confronting them in whatever fashion we need to. With you, it was breathing and going back into a place of trust after you looked at it. Me, it was like, wow, go away, monster. And
but in both essence, it was a release.
Yes,
it was a release.
It was.
That's what we have to do. We can't control the situation. As soon as you start trying to control it, that's when it stops or things happen. You have to release. You have to find your way of releasing.
Yes. And not running away from it, admitting that it's there and finding a way that's going to work for you as far as, okay, move aside, I'm coming through, monster. Yeah, I think that's incredible. So Wonder Woman sort of stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Now, a few months down the track, this journey happened. Reflecting back on your birth journey, on your pregnancy journey, on your birth journey, what's your takeaways from it all?
No, there's a few. As much as you can prepare, but prepare for there to be huge changes. And one of the things that Janine taught me throughout this was that the whole process, it's like a river, and you can fight it if you want to, burn your energy, swim against the current, or you can just go with the current. And there was so much that happened during the pregnancy that really put a whole lot of blocks up in my way that I really had to confront. And then, yourself and Janine would remind me, to get to that I had the strength, that I had the ability to confront them, to make the changes necessary. Because when leading into the pregnancy, because of all my trauma, I felt like I had to have this vision, and it had to go this way. But pregnancy, it's not like that. You can't control everything. You can make as many preparations as you like, but you will have to confront things.
Yeah.
You will have to make some changes along the way. So that was a huge takeaway for me. And obviously the power of community and having the right people around you to support you is foundational. And the other thing that I didn't consider, which I mean, considering my situation, it was very difficult anyway, but planning to have at the very least 2 weeks after the birth where you are just in bed and you recover, because I didn't, and that threw a lot of spanners in the work for my healing process afterwards. But yeah, planning for at least bare minimum 2 weeks to fully recover, just to allow yourself to be loved by the people around you.
Yeah.
I think that's, a lot of women that have had cesarean sections, they know how long the process is of healing. It's major surgery, basically, abdominal surgery. It's not to be taken lightly. It's probably worse than major surgery because you've got a womb in transition. And a lot of people think, oh, well, home birth, or a vaginal birth is easier. So there's this sort of feeling, well, I haven't had major surgery, so I should be up having a shower, having making a lunch.
Yeah, there's almost a sense of guilt that I couldn't.
Yeah, because we expect that because you've had a vaginal birth. And, I do feel sorry for the women that birth in some of the other countries where they're in the rice fields and they're picking rice and they squat. And I've heard stories. I don't know if they actually do this, and then they have the baby and then they pick the baby out, wrap it onto their chest and go on picking rice. And I think that we sort of have, well, they can do it, so why can't we? I think but to be honest with you, I don't think that's by choice that they do that.
No.
I think it's a really sad thing that is the case for some women out there. But it also puts the expectation on us and our culture too of productivity. You have to get up and you have to start doing things and act normal. And I think that's one of the things that, especially after you've had a cesarean section or two, that you have this expectation of yourself. And I'm really appreciating that there's a change in our culture where some women are taking up to 40 days just with their baby. There's so many goodnesses to that. So I think my feeling for you, Sam, was very similar to, oh my God, what is this woman doing? Because what I wanted you to